March 2021. A year ago, the world went into lockdown and seemingly everything would change over the course of the next several months. My family was finally getting ready to live in a house after their tremendous sacrifice over the previous 3 years. Living in a 560-foot metal shop in an RV was not very fun, but I know we'll look back and cherish moments and better comprehend the reasons we went through that time. I think because of it, we much more appreciate the land you see me working than we would have, and maybe more than others might understand. Kaylee has been an absolute champ. She doesn't need my praise in this or any video, and in fact, we both think it's corny when other couples have to publicly praise each other, but I literally know no other man who could honestly say his wife would endure what mine has. So loyal to myself and my dreams that it makes me feel incredibly selfish at times. We sold our house in February of 2018 and decided the money we made off of it would give me enough time to build the element into an income-producing business. In my mind, this was my last attempt at entrepreneurship. If I failed this time, I'd just go find a job and quit dreaming. For 20 years, part of these dreams has been to own my own deer hunting property. Every year I live, the dream property gets smaller. But when I started, it was several thousand acres in the brush country of South Texas. I'm realistic now, but just barely, so I've whittled my options down to under 30 acres in dairy country right here in the town I grew up in. I haven't yet spent a year with the property, and I can tell that it's such a blessing. I foresee tons of memories with my friends, family, and the things that grow from this dirt, all of which I hope to steward with wisdom over time. Summertime in Northeast Texas can be brutal. We get Gulf winds that bring tons of humidity and scorching temps that often see triple digits. Outside of the freaky Snowmageddon last February, we usually see the highest stress period for wildlife in the late summer. Water is the limiting factor on most properties around here, though we're not nearly as dry as most of the rest of the state. Luckily, I have a very small pond on my land, but with that water comes pigs. They'll relocate the baddest of bucks, so I had to find a solution. I kept pressure on them as they showed up and eventually mustered up enough money to get a couple of hog panels so that I could feed deer and keep down the social stress from the hogs. Going into the season, I could see my plan was working, and I felt good about my chances of having a shooter buck show up. I had no clue, though, what would happen once November rolled around. Set up for a while. I got in pretty early. We bought a new mic. I was trying to get it working, and it looks like we just got a bunch of faulty equipment around here. Frustrating, but hopefully we'll get it ironed out. Anyway, you don't care about that, but you do care about the deer that I've got. 300 yards over there that have already come out. We've had several bucks coming in right here in the daylight, some of them, and lots of chasing at night, that kind of thing. My wife sent me pictures when I was in Kansas. And I actually felt pretty bad. I've had fever the last 3 nights, and I got diagnosed with COVID this morning. So the best thing I needed to do was come out here, sit in a tree, enjoy the weather here in Texas, in short sleeve shirt, and try to shoot a big buck on my property. There's been a few shooters showing up, so pretty exciting. Got some corn out, I'm ready to shoot one. Hopefully it happens. The wind isn't that great. So I sat last night and had a very light and variable wind, but it's supposed to be out northeast. As I talked about, it was a little more easterly, but it just died pretty much at dark. Saw that turkey foot buck. I think he's like 3. And then I came out here this morning with tough access in the mornings because of food sources and stuff around. And a south wind, I decided not to hunt this morning, which was a terrible mistake, I think. I pulled up on the hill. There was a couple does here, and they kind of moseyed off. And now I'm sitting here, and about 7:45 to 8 o'clock, 3 different bucks roll in. One is turkey foot, and the other one is another deer that is younger and got splits. I think there might even be another buck in there now. No, same buck. They're all 3 eating my corn. The other buck that just came in is the biggest buck I've ever seen in East Texas. There's bigger ones out there that'll be killed in this county this year, but I have not seen one this big. Giant mainframe 10, came right into the corn. Would have given me a great shot. And now he's leaving out, chasing does. He's huge. Try to get some video, but it's probably just going to be not very good. I'm gonna have to hunt this dude this afternoon. He just went back into the timber, which is where I created bedding this year after we did some land consultation. I was hoping he'd go a little bit west of where he was, but he went in pretty much almost straight back from the food. So I don't know what to do. I need to check the weather. I think the wind is supposed to be a south today, which is the reason I didn't hunt. And I need to see if I can get on this deer this afternoon without blowing wind at him where he's bedded. I got an idea where he's bedded. Where he went in is basically heading right towards all the bedding that I created. So I'm hoping that's what he's doing, is, you know, spending the day on that bedding, and then he's gonna come back out right before dark, chase does around, eat some corn maybe. So I got some game plans to make today. This deer is like 90 yards from me right now. He chased a doe all the way out here, and he's got her pinned in this cedar tree and this brush right around it. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe what I should have done when he left was walk down there, got up in that stand, and made some calls. So what I'm probably gonna do is get my stuff ready, and if he runs back into the woods or walks back into the woods, walk down there to the tree stand and try to call him back out and make a shot. Still there, I think, in those cedar trees with that doe at like 90 yards. So I very carefully slid all of my stuff out this door. And my plan, I guess, is to just crawl across this open pasture, make a big loop of a couple 100 yards, all the way down to my tree that I hung in last night, which is upwind of him, and probably 90 yards or so from the buck. There in that tree. I'm gonna set the camera up. I'm gonna do a light bit of grunting and rattling and see if he can come right back down there in front of me and give me a shot. I don't know if he's bedded or not, because he hadn't been there very long still. I've seen him moving around, walking just a little bit in a little small circle there, but I haven't seen him in like 10 or 15 minutes, so maybe he has bedded down. goodness, that took forever. Probably crawled for 45 minutes or at least probably, and got all the way around and got to where I could finally get enough grass and brush around these little pear trees to sit up on my knees and glass. I look back there and all of a sudden I see them moving around in those cedar trees. At least they're still there. I was happy, but I was like, I hope they're not gonna get to going crazy here. So I kind of whipped around the edge of those trees and brush right there so that I could get a shot if something did happen, and then start working my way down to the tree stand if nothing happened. And I mean, it wasn't, I probably didn't work 10 or 15 yards, 10 yards probably total, and all of a sudden the doe just shoots by at 40 yards across the little 2-track right there into the woods. And so I start shedding stuff and throwing gloves and GoPros and knocked an arrow as quick as I could. And about the time I got it knocked, he came out at like 45 yards, 45 yards, something like that. It stood. I hadn't ranged anything, so I was just not going to try it. I think the best option for me, because he didn't see me, he actually looked away and then he kept chasing that doe in there. I think my best option is to go get a shower, get a few things done today, and then go back and get in a tree this afternoon and try to maybe do some light rattling and see if he comes out early, and if not, shoot him right before dark when he comes out if he does. So anyway, exciting morning. I'm going to get after him this afternoon hopefully and get it done. Well, it's November 12th, my son's birthday. Happy birthday, Jet. Love you, man. Hopefully, these videos will last a long time. You'll be able to watch this for a long time. Just remember how much I love you, because that's what means a lot to me. I'll take some of your birthday luck today if you want to give it to me, because I'm going to need it. I had the biggest buck I've seen on this property, our new ranch here, this morning at 40 yards. And he would be the biggest buck I've ever shot, I think, too, if I did shoot him. But things have gotten wild. He's been chasing does around and stuff, and I don't know where he actually bedded up, so I've been nervous all day. Spooked a few deer that were bedded back over here, but I didn't spook him. When I came in, though, something was bedded right on the other side of this thicket right here in the corner. And it took off like a bug, you know, real quiet, real quick. No questions asked, no blowing, nothing like that. So kind of disheartening, I think, but may do some rattling. But I've been on the fence about that big time. But I do have a good wind right now. Got some west in it. It's going to end up with a straight south, basically, which is still okay, I think, because it blows right down this old fence line, which nothing really comes out on the fence line. They always come out over here or way down there. So see what happens. I'm pretty excited for the opportunity just to be here. It was a blessing just to watch that deer this morning. And if he comes back out, gives me a shot, I hope I make a good one. And I sure would like to be sitting behind the biggest deer of my life tonight, right here on a place that I just purchased. Kind of a dream, would be a dream scenario for me. It's something I've dreamed of my whole life, I think. So. swirled at it. But then a bobcat came out and literally walked right underneath me. And he got my wind down there. So apparently my wind is pretty good for the perspective that there might be a big buck coming from this direction. So. East Texas, you just don't know where they're coming from. It's not cut and dry, so I decided to hunt it. And I just had a little buck leave the corn right here. Wind was blowing right at him, best I could tell, and it's swirling all up right in here. He wasn't bothered at all, so I'm hoping the rut is just kicking enough that I'm going to get a shot at a buck this morning. It either just goes through my wind or comes from a different direction. Because they can come from anywhere right here. I've got deer back behind me, which is the least likely of spots. And they're chasing right now, so just after shooting light, I'm going to sit in here for a few hours and see if something wants to cruise by, and it's a big old monster. Beautiful morning. Well, I decided to hop out real quick. Hadn't seen a whole lot of movement since that little buck came through right after the big buck came through. It's about 8:45 and it's already 63 degrees. It's a warm day, and the wind was getting worse. It was blowing back into where I've seen pretty much every buck come in on this property so far. So every big buck at least. So decided to get down, go do some things, and maybe come back for the afternoon sit, hopefully. And I might adjust the stand some, so to a different tree because of the wind. So got a lot to think about, but hopefully get back in the stand. It was a really pretty morning, good day to be out, and I'm gonna kill a big buck here. It just may take a few days. Whew, days are short in the fall. I'm sweating. It is 73 and I just hung a new set in a gigantic oak tree that's been around who knows how long, and I'm definitely sweating it up now. And it's kind of late, it's like 3:30, but I gotta go get some water after that, and then I'm gonna hustle back, get in the stand, set the camera arm, and kill a deer tonight. But it's what I had to do on this east wind. Tomorrow things will straighten back out to the south, and I think I'll have a good shot at sitting in the same tree again that I set this morning and possibly getting a shot. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited. It's a good setup. I think I'm gonna be a lot more hidden in this tree, that's for sure. doe, but he was pretty love struck. Got into my shooting window at 18 yards. By the time I got drawn, he started walking off after that doe again. And when I grunt stopped him, he did not like it. But he locked back on that doe and took off running after her, so maybe he'll end up back over here, but I don't really trust that either one of them are going to come back this way after smelling me. The rut can hide mistakes for sure, and not that that was a mistake necessarily. This is exactly where I thought I would have shots to deer, right here coming out. So, but I might have grunt stopped him too loud. I don't know, but anyway. There's a bigger buck in here, but he ain't much bigger than that. That's a big buck. I don't think I have a whole lot of footage of him right here, but I'll show you some footage from this morning. I was shaking. We still got a little time left though. The physical toll of hunting through my bout with COVID began to take a mental toll on me. The medication made me feel nauseous, and sitting in a tree in 80 degrees with 30-mile-per-hour winds on November 14th didn't help. The date is a historically top-notch date according to our past East Texas trail camera data. Knowing that, I sat through the pitiful weather conditions, hoping the rut would overcome the circumstances. I gave the property a rest for a few sits, I guess, and I did come watch it this morning from the truck, kind of from a distance, and saw a little spike chasing. I've seen him the last couple of days here, and a few does around. But after talking to KC and a couple other people, I think that maybe the does are just being really discreet right now and trying to hide from these bucks that are chasing them all over the place. And I think that may be the reason I'm not seeing as many deer. I don't know if it's as much has to do with the pressure that I put on the property. I'm sure there's a little bit of that. But with that said, I guess there's, you know, they may be in some kind of a lockdown or something like that. I don't really like that term a whole lot, but I know it can happen to an extent, and that may be what's going on. So I think I'm going to sit, because tonight could be the night that a big buck, gets done with the doe and walks in and tries to find another one somewhere where he was at a couple days ago. So there was a couple of big bucks around, and that makes sense that could happen. So with that said, I'm going to try not to cough a whole lot in the stand, because it is dead calm. The wind is terrible. Again, it's just zero. It's zero for the next 3 hours. Man, that was a big deer. I've seen him once before, and that was the second time. I don't know how much he's been there, you know. I thought that the first morning I saw him was the first morning we had pictures of him, which is the truth. But he may have been around before then, because that dude is just hot and heavy right now chasing does. I couldn't get him off that doe. I tried to rattle at him and some stuff like that. They're just hard to get in when they're that crazy, you know. So I don't know what to do in the morning. Got kind of the same wind, just a 0 to 1 mile an hour. And it's just, if I sit in that stand that was closer to him, you know, my corn's right there. And so the deer gonna smell me more than likely with the wind drifting just slightly out of the north like it was. So if they smell me, then they don't get in that area. The does don't, and then there's no, you know, reason for that buck to come chasing through there, really. I feel like. So I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do. I got some thinking to do, but I think I need to be in the area in the morning somehow hunting. Man, that was just insane. Like, I'm still shaking. That's probably the biggest buck that I will have ever had a shot at, if I do get a shot at him. Tonight he was at 49 broadside, completely calm in my shooting lane, and I just, at this point in the year, just haven't been practicing the long shots as much, and even still, I don't think I would ever take that shot. At least right now, I'm just not as good of an archer as I should be, maybe, and the equipment that I have with the older bow and everything, I just didn't feel that comfortable taking that shot. I sure would have liked him to come up there by where his doe was, because she was at 20 yards, and I thought at that point when she got there, I thought it's gonna happen, it's about to happen, he's gonna circle around. Honestly, that other 8-point, I don't know if I got any footage of him, he kind of screwed things up for me. He put himself in the mix, which made the big deer put himself between that buck and the doe and left him out there at 49 yards instead of at 20. So frustrating, but fun and exciting all at the same time. I think if I can just keep hunting this thing and not be too aggressive yet until we get a good wind, I think there's a chance that he slips up and gives me a shot. If not, we'll get aggressive when we get some wind or some cold weather and make it happen. That was a pretty cool morning. There's a lot of deer right at first light. A couple bucks, you know, decent buck, and he was close. And he actually came back through right here, probably 20 yards, maybe closer, probably closer. Neighborhood kids are kind of getting restless this morning, and they're out riding around and yelling and screaming, and it's all good. It's part of it, you know. But anyway, I think things are kind of coming into the midday bedding stage, even though it's kind of early already. So with that, I'm gonna go get some breakfast at the grocery store, since I'm out of quarantine finally, and I'm gonna go cook some breakfast for my family, and then probably edit some video and get back out here this afternoon, make a micro move, I think, where those deer came through, where you saw those deer come through. That's where that buck went in last night, within about 10 yards of that. And if I can get up in one of these tiny little trees in a saddle tonight, there's a chance that I might be able to shoot a big old monster buck right there. Who knows? It's exciting to think about. Obvious who's the dominant buck around here. It's interesting, but I have a little history with that buck. Pretty sure I've got his sheds. Probably talked about this already, but been hunting these deer pretty hard lately and can't remember where all the storyline is. But that was a cool encounter. The monster bug apparently is either a subordinate or a little bit younger. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a 4-year-old. But he came out at like 35 yards right there. I had, no shots, just like when the other two came out. He and that little buck were trailing that doe up. Came busting out. When they ran into that big buck, they took off. Unfortunately, the little buck stayed around. But the big old giant 10 that I've been trying to shoot, he kind of went off the other direction away from us, so. That was definitely an exciting evening. This is a very confusing little place to hunt, but there's a lot of deer. I think this habitat out here, this grassland habitat, is good stuff, but it also makes it hard to get within bow range of a deer. So anyway, I'm going to get back out here in the morning on what appears like it's going to be a straight south. So I may be hunting back over in my stand over here. I don't know. It's not my favorite location, but I think it would hunt pretty good on a straight south, so. Anyway, exciting evening. Blessing to be out here and watch all that go down under this clear skies and sunset. this quick because I am in the mix right now. The wind is very iffy, but this is my best idea of a hunting spot on this wind. Blowing back kind of at the pond here. It'll tilt around even more as the day goes on. There's trails right behind me here. Good chance that if a deer comes out close, I get seen, but I'm hoping and banking that the rut and the mix-up that goes on with that will allow me to get drawn and get a shot, hopefully on that big buck, if he comes through. He was here last night. I couldn't tell what time, but I just scrolled through the pictures really quick on the camera, and he was here. So I'm hoping he bedded somewhere close and he comes working through. Got a little bit of corn out here in front of me, but it's already been eaten, and I put it out, about 10 this morning, so something came through midday, ate a bunch of it. The hope is that my wind blows right there, but does come out right here, come down the edge, and bring that buck in tow, and that give me a shot at 20 yards right here. It's been a lot of Groundhog Day style hunting here on this place, but had some cool experiences. So with the sun getting low, I'm going to go ahead and be quiet. Get ready for deer to come out. This should start happening pretty soon. What's happening, dude?
Things are happening.
Dang it. Dude, I would have called you earlier, but I literally was packed up, about to take my first step down, and the giant was at 45 yards.
No way.
Yeah, it was like right at shooting light.
Dude, I'm sorry.
No. I don't think I'm almost 100% sure he didn't even see me moving or nothing, because he just kind of nose to the ground, kept going. So.
Yeah.
But gosh, dude, he's huge.
I believe you. He's a giant.
Anyway, he's got low battery on his phone, so he's gonna go check and see if he can find this deer and let me know something. I may take off tonight, or I may just go bright and early in the morning up there to help him. So he probably needs help, but it is a long ways up there during November when I got a big old giant around here. So not to sound selfish, but I have to be back. Basically, I would be driving the majority of a 24-hour period to get back for Thanksgiving. We've got an early Thanksgiving. So it's just, who knows what is going to happen in the next few hours to the next several hours. So hope that things go smoothly for all of us, and we can get this buck recovered and get him out. Pretty exciting stuff, that's for sure. Big old deer. After we put the finishing touches on one of the most epic deer hunting videos ever, we celebrated with as many cookies as we could eat, and I left to go back home and get after this buck that had consumed me for the last 2 weeks solid. I was welcomed home to a forecast of north winds and cooler temps that I thought would never come. On the 26th, I decided I learned enough about deer movement in the native grass playground I created to make a bold move. I picked up a ground blind from my dad and attempted to make it my home the next several days. Every day I grew more skeptical that I had blown the property out. For the first time, I had full sits in which I didn't even see a doe. Also, when I finally checked the trail camera, I found that the morning I left to help KC in Kansas, the giant buck made a daylight appearance. To make matters worse, when I shot my bow on the 28th, I could immediately tell it was way out of tune. An old friend invited me over to get it dialed back in, and by the evening I was able to hunt. With November waning, I wondered if my shot at serendipity was over. My weary spirit dragged me up into the old ash tree once again. biggest buck of my life. He's dead. Oh, I'm about to cry. I have hunted so many days for that buck. I think it was the 12th when I first saw him. I didn't think the wind was very good and I could have killed him from this tree that day. Oh my gosh, I think that's the biggest buck I've ever killed. And he's dead right out there. I'm almost sad because
it's over, but at the same time, like, I did not think it was gonna happen. Last night was the first night I had seen a deer and 4 sits on this place, when I had seen deer every single sit and up to 18 deer prior to that. And there's been all kinds of stuff going on around here. And then he came out, and this stand is creaky this morning. I couldn't stand up. I sat down when those does started coming in because I wanted to be still and let them come in and hopefully bring that deer in. They start coming in, and I see him on top of the hill over there by my pear trees. And he just dipped into the woods, and I thought, well, there's a chance, but, you know, he went in behind a doe. I thought they're gonna go bed. And then he came out right here at 25 yards and scared the mess out of me and started messing with these does. And then by that point, there was does everywhere, and he was looking back this way once I got the camera settled on him. And he just came in, and I could have shot him right out here, but I had to stand up when he jumped the fence right there to go eat corn. I had to stand up when he did that because when I first started to shift my weight, when he came up to the fence, he heard me. He heard the stand creak a little bit. So I had to wait till he jumped. When he jumped, I stood up, and there was a doe that had me out there, and she started blowing. Eventually, once I got everything set up, I tried to get the camera put on him and manual focus through these vines and stuff, and I had one little hole, and I ranged him at 30, and she started blowing after I ranged. And golly, I never thought I was going to get the pin settled. But I did. I pulled the trigger, quartering away. I think I smoked him. I mean, obviously, he went out there and died in the field. So this is a great day. I was going to Kansas tomorrow and thinking, man, am I stupid for leaving this buck? It's the biggest buck I've ever really chased even, probably. I don't know what he's going to score, but he is a huge frame deer. Do they make a prettier rack, you know? Just like, and that's like a Texas thing too, you know? Like, Texas bucks just have some really pretty racks. And of course, you got a little weird thing here. What's cool is you can come check this out in a second. This deer has a hole in his horn.
Yeah, I probably put more hours in that deer too than any other you've ever shot.
Yeah, definitely has. Man, what an awesome morning. You know, first really cold weather. I think it ended up still being low 30s, but thought it was supposed to be, according to the weatherman, a little shy of that, in the upper 20s. But it was a cold morning either way. And you can see what cold weather will do for you, especially in November. This deer means a lot to me. I think you can kind of tell me freaking out afterwards and not knowing what to do and trying to get footage of everything. You know, the self-film life is tough, but I'm so glad that I did it because there's a lot of legacy to be had with this deer for my son and further generations, maybe, if they care to watch it. You know, this has been something that has taken 2 decades or more for me, more than that probably. I've wanted a place in Texas that I could hunt deer. Wanted to have a place. It's been a dream of mine for a long time. And you know, ideally, when I was young, I didn't know how much this property was going to cost these days, but South Texas was where I wanted to do this thing. And I used to draw ranch houses on grid paper and that kind of thing, and dream of how many acres I'd own in South Texas. You know, about 30 here is what I can afford these days because Casey and I have been chasing this dream, you know.
But if you get on the right small property, it doesn't matter a whole lot. You can end up with something like this, you know. And I think this is an abnormal year a little bit. I think I've got a couple of shooters, and I may not have that every year, and I probably won't have a deer of this caliber. And I told my dad earlier, I was like, man, my dad helped me film a little bit here because we were babysitters today. KC's got his son with him, so he got to do his first track job. But anyway, I told my dad, I was like, this may be the biggest Texas buck I ever shoot. Biggest East Texas deer for sure, you know, that I probably ever shoot. Who knows? Things could change, but this is just such an impressive deer. And I don't know how old he is, you know. I don't know a whole lot about this deer because I just got this property this spring or summer and have done a little work on it and spent a lot of time out here trying to make things right. And this has just been a cool experience. You know, one thing I don't want to forget here to talk about, this year KC and I have kind of had some different themes kind of going on. You know, I've been praying a lot. I've been getting in the stand early and sitting in the dark, especially out here, just because of the way this sets up. I feel like I need to get in the stand early, and I've been praying. And this morning when this deer came out at 25 yards, I realized the first thing I thought was I didn't pray. And so I don't want you to ever get the impression that Casey and I are some righteous dudes or nothing. You know, we try to live up to the standards of what we read in the Bible, but we fall short of that a lot. And because of that, we need a Savior, and that's Jesus. I think about that, and I think that there's some way that God is being glorified at all times, you know, and that in my mistake of not praying this morning as I'm sitting in the stand, I'm reminded as a giant deer comes out, and the first thing you think is, all right, God, please let this deer come into range and give me a shot, you know, and make it a good shot and all this and that. And God is not at our mercy. I didn't change his mind this morning when I prayed that, and I didn't change his mind when I didn't pray this morning either. So it's just a cool concept that came to my mind as I'm sitting here thinking about how blessed I've been this season to have, you know, 4 nice bucks, and 4, you know, great opportunities to shoot a deer and share these experiences with my friends and stuff. And Casey's right over there, and my dad, he's gone and done some business at this point, but awesome deer. I can't wait to talk about it on the podcast. And really, we've said this on the podcast, we appreciate you guys watching. You know, 10,000 subs this year. It's a huge milestone for us. It means a ton to us. It gives us the opportunity to do this right here. And this is what I've wanted to do since I was a little kid. So thank y'all for watching. And I'm going to head to Kansas soon. What I like is that all I can see is your cheese right on the top of the frame.